Hello, and welcome to Film Slam Stream's post-film conversation for Little Trumpet. My name is Eric Siler, and I'm an instructor of film, media arts, communications, as well as moderator for this conversation. We're very pleased to be joined by the director of Little Trumpet, Megan Trufant Tillman. Megan hails from the New Orleans, Louisiana area, and she has done much writing and filmmaker in that area, and she's joining us today from Austin, Texas. Hello, Megan, and welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's so great to have you. I'm just so glad to have the opportunity to talk to you briefly about this film, Little Trumpet. I just want to start out. You did everything on this film. You wrote it, you produced it, you directed it. I'm surprised if you didn't even star in it. I was looking to see, oh, they make you make a cameo or something because this is your baby.
It
You
is.
know, over your this film. I we can't help but feel it. Let's start off by I know I want to find out the inspiration of the film, but who's your intended audience for this film?
I would say my intended audience for this film has, first and foremost, have been the people of New Orleans. I grew up, um, was raised there, and I think it's just such a special thing to be able to see us on screen and to see us in our full actual selves and just to not hold back. So I really did this one for home, and I wanted the people back home to see it, but also just young Black kids like all over America, over the world, wherever. I just hope that they can connect to this and see themselves or see a way to keep pushing. So I definitely did it for like the little kid in me and audiences who are like that, who just have been through some things and adults alike who have experienced things like this and want to kind of keep pushing and keep seeing hope at the end of their stories.
That's great that you brought this home to your community.
Mhm.
Now, this isn't a true story, but it's inspired by things that could have happened or may have actually happened. Tell us about the inspiration for this script.
Yeah, well, when I first started writing it, I didn't really have a direction, and I was just kind of writing and just, exercising, something I do often. But when I look back on it and I finished the project, I realized that the script was really just kind of I would say just a lot of experiences of not just my own experiences, but people I grew up with and a lot of people in my family where we've lost loved ones to gun violence. We've we've tacked on to passions as an outlet, things like music, things like dance, and that's just such a rich culture and environment in our city. But it also is that thing that's helping us push through. So I would say that the script was actually a lot of stories, a lot of people's stories, just kind of morphed into one, and I use those things and those experiences as talking points throughout the film.
Absolutely. Um, One thing that struck me about the film was language. And you had to see this film all the way through because if you wrote this film, handed off to a director, they probably would have had their own spin on
Mhm.
it. But you had a clear vision in writing and developing the characters and the language they used and the feelings that were emoted from them. And you saw that through in the direction. Can you speak a little bit about the language, how the realism set in terms of executing this film?
Yeah, I think kind of going back to the first question you asked me about who this film is for, I wanted people to, especially people from New Orleans, to look at this film and see themselves portrayed authentically. I feel like a lot of people have their idea of what the South is and what New Orleans is and what our culture is, but unless you have lived there and you've been around these people and you've kind of walked in their shoes and you experienced these things, you wouldn't know what it's truly like to kind of speak in that tongue and speak with that rhythm and just, all of those nuances happening at the same time. It was really important for me for the language to be correct, for the accents to be correct, for it to feel really real and for it to feel like you really went into a person's home from New Orleans and you were a fly on the wall. And I think that's just something as a director that I always want to carry in my work. It's just to accurately portray what the world really feels like. And, you know, I'm a witness to the world. So I want to use my eye to bring that out and have people feel that and see that on screen.
Yeah. And that you did. And not to mention the whole the music in the film too. New Orleans is known for its jazz, and having that as a nice backdrop and to help move the film along. Tell us a little bit about the scoring of this film.
Yeah, I'm, you know, first and foremost, I'm a writer, but I'm also a musician. And so when I finished the script, one of the first things I did was I called my music partner and I was like, you know, we have to score this. We have to do the music supervision because it's such a specific story. It's such a time and place that I really wanted the music to come alive in the same way that the story comes alive and almost be this added character. So it was really important for me to be hands-on with that experience. And I was able to get in the room with so many talented musicians who could, they can feel what I was going for and they could, you know, sense what the mood and the tone of the film felt like. And, you know, all together we were able to just really paint that picture and paint that world. And I was extremely grateful to have so many like-minded, talented musicians to come in and really take what was in my mind and put it into the score. And so composing that and arranging that piece was just like, it was such a learning experience. It was my first time ever doing something like that. And as a Black filmmaker and composer, we don't get that many chances and we don't have that many doors into composing in the film space. So it was important for me to create that opportunity, not just for myself, but for all of the musicians who worked on the project who were like, this is my first time doing this and I love it. How do I get into this? How do I keep doing this? So being able to create that lane was just a special moment.
That is, you can't stop. You have to do more of that. You do. Uh, let's talk about your actors. You know, anyone not connected with the Black culture or Southern culture or whatever kind of culture, they might just look at it as, oh my gosh, how did Megan actually find a single mom? How does she find someone involved in drugs and so forth? But these are actors that were connected to your project. Tell us about how you found them and how you came about casting them.
Yeah, of course. Well, my producer, Kimiko Masuda Lawrence, she really understood my vision and she was like, we're going to find the right people, the perfect people in the vehicle for this story. And first, it was important to cast in New Orleans. It was important to cast people that, you know, could read this story and relate to it. And I think that's what really brought out their performances. They had all lived some part of this story before. They knew these characters, they knew these people. So it was just kind of like water for them, just very natural. And they were able to just get into these roles so easily. But not only that, but they're super talented individuals and they all are on projects now. And they're just constantly building from, you know, what you saw in Little Trumpet. So I even, when I had my first reading with the mother who plays Jeanette, she was like, this person has to be from New Orleans who wrote this because it's just too real. It feels exactly like, you know, my grandmother used to talk or, you know, my mother used to talk. And so I think that all of my actors just really knew these people and knew these characters and they were really able to tap into that.
Well, great. Great, they did. Let's talk about the overall message in the story. What did you want viewers to walk away with after seeing this film?
I think that a key piece to my main character and just this film overall is the resilience of the people that I know and the people that I grew up with. I lived in this city for most of my life. And when I moved away, I realized all of the things that were not normal about my experiences, that my peers out in Texas hadn't experienced things like that before. And it just kind of wasn't the norm. And looking back on that, I thought it was important to really push this message that doesn't matter where we come from or what we experience, but like what we take from it and how we keep going. And my main character, that's exactly what he's doing. He's, you know, who I was when I was a kid. He's so many of the kids from my neighborhood. You know, we go through these things, but we still push on to be musicians. We still push on, and we end up being filmmakers. We end up being directors, and all of these different, you know, beautiful things that come from our stories. So it doesn't have to be the end of your story when you go through things. It could just be the beginning. And I really wanted to push that message and have that be told from the child's perspective, so that, you know, people can have that as an example, because I didn't always have that. And I just wanted to do that for other people.
Well, that you certainly did. And tell us about, you screened this for, almost going on almost a year now around the
Mhm.
different festivals. Tell us the responses that you've received from this film.
I've gotten amazing responses, and I'm just so grateful, because when I made this film, I was just making a film to make a film to tell a story. So to get people involved in my story and get people really excited and interested in these characters, interested in this world, being able to see this talent down in New Orleans, and just really being able to showcase all of those things moving at once. I just thought the response was great, and I'm just grateful for it. I'm grateful that it's been received in the way that it has been, because it's just so important for these stories to be told. It's so important for people to see themselves on TV, on screen, in stories, and preserving our stories and our history.
It does. So I'm glad of that. Um, that the response is as I would expect it uh, from the work that you did. Let's talk a little bit about the production itself. Tell us a little bit about how many days you filmed, and how long did it actually take to complete?
Yeah, we shot the film over 4 days with 1 day of prep. And the prep just included costume design, set design, me getting to meet my actors for the first time, get to know them for the first time, any run-throughs or quick rehearsals. And then we went straight into filming from there. So we had 4 days of that, one very short day, like half a day of like pickups. But we had such a scrappy, talented team, and we were able to, really hustle this film together, because that was such a short amount of time looking back on it. So we were able to pull it off.
Okay, well, great. That's 4 days. Did amazing work in such short period of time.
Yeah.
The production, the band, the marching band. Uh, was that an actual marching band? Who
Yeah.
was it?
It's our Marching 100. So if you from New Orleans, or New Orleans, or you just kind of familiar with band culture in high school, it's St. Augustine. Um, it's their marching band. They're like extremely talented. They're like one of the best, I mean, probably the best band in the city, arguably one of the best bands in the country. And the school is in the Seventh Ward where we shot the film, right around the corner. And I was just like grateful to be able to get them. They were actually practicing for the upcoming Mardi Gras season, which just passed a year ago. Um, and yeah, they were lovely. They were amazing to work with, and they were so open to being on film. I mean, they're used to it because people love to film them. They're famous.
Great. Uh, the ending of the film, what is your interpretation of the ending? Or is you are leaving it up to us to interpret it?
I think where my main character goes from then, it's different for different people, because it's meant to be a universal story. But for me, it's my story, and it's kind of me picking up a tape recorder and continuing to be a rapper, or me like picking up my instruments and continuing to be a musician, picking up my pen, continuing to be a writer. And it's kind of supposed to mark the beginning of this kid's journey, and in a positive journey.
Okay. And also, also you left the door open for the feature. as well, or a sequel to this? Any
Could be,
plans for
could be.
that?
I get asked that all the time, and sometimes I feel like the story is like the story, and I might leave it where it is, but it does make me think. People want more, and people are so invested in these characters. It does make me think maybe I would want to.
Oh, well, what did you leave out of the film that you may have shot, or did you not leave out anything?
Well, as you can see from the very long runtime, I did not leave out anything. But it was because we were very concise with our shooting. I only shot what I needed. And so when it kind of came down to putting the film together, um, everything that I needed to tell the story was there. And I was kind of stubborn about not taking anything out. So we might have trimmed some scenes or trimmed some things, but everything's pretty much there from the film. And to answer your other question, going back, we shot it over 4 days, but it took me about 9 months, close to a year, to get my final cut and to get the music placed in, and get the sound how we wanted it. So post production was a very long process, but I'm glad we arrived where we did.
Oh, absolutely, yes. It definitely shows with that. Has this film won any awards at all?
Yeah, we picked up Best Narrative Short at Bushwick Film Festival, Best Louisiana Short, and the Audience Award at New Orleans Film Festival, Best Cinematography at Tacoma, and Best African American Directed Short Film at Phoenix Film Festival.
Well, and more to come.
I hope so.
And one before we wrap up here in a moment, we're watching this now. Teachers who are using this Q&A may watch this now, may watch it later on, but I just want to indicate right now there's a writer's strike going on. And I think Hollywood could take a cue from you in terms of writing, because this is something, this writing we do not see, especially when it comes to Black films. We do not see this kind of writing. So I think they could take a cue. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Thank you. Thank you. No, I mean, I really love to hear that because being a filmmaker from the South, um, and being a filmmaker who doesn't have many entry points into film, just from my background, I love to hear that, we can be innovative, we can be our authentic selves, and we can, do things the way we truly believe they should be done, and write the way we feel like, we want to hear ourselves and see ourselves. And so it's really special to hear that, it's appreciated on the other end and people really recognize that.
Absolutely, because I screened many films, and I just had to do a double listen. It's like, this is interesting. This is because it's not it's polished. It's very polished, but it comes off in such a way that grips you. If I'm expressing myself correctly, from the characters and the language and the music, all that blending nicely together. So
Thank you.
congratulations on that. And before I let you go, what can we expect from you next?
Ooh, next, I'm gonna continue making films in New Orleans because that's home for me, and it's an underserved community, and I want to bring more filmmaking to the city. But I'm also working on a few projects, and working on getting support for feature projects and stuff like that. But as you mentioned, there is the strike going on, so I'm using this time to just polish everything up, keep writing on my own, and standing in support of my fellow writers and making sure we get what we need so that I can continue to make these films and get them out there.
Megan Trufant Tillman, director of Little Trumpet, thank you so much for joining us. I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Eric. I appreciate y'all.
And thank you to our audience for joining us for this important and invigorating conversation. For more information about upcoming film festivals, please visit us at clevelandfilm.org. I'm Eric Siler. Thank you.